Looking for the king of podcasts? You're at the wrong channel. Looking for good ideas for life? You are far from good hands. If you think the listener is always right, you are far from the right place. Hosted by a Northeasterner by birth, a rebel by choice. If you want a host that floats between love and madness, then play on and listen to Crazy Train Radio.
Not all football helmets are created equal. Zenith, the industry leader in protective technology, is the only helmet in the game with adaptive head protection featuring a shock suspension system that can move independently from the helmet shell. Headquartered and developed in Detroit, Zenith is committed to player safety and revolutionary innovation. Zenith is proud to protect athletes at every level from Pee Wee to the pros. Learn more about the Zenith difference at zenith.com. That's XENITH.com.
Hey, I know we have a lot of horror fans that listen to our shows, and I know things have been tough for everybody across the board these past 6 or 7 months with what's been going on in the real world. But I wanted to make a suggestion to you horror fans, because I know part of the normal routine year in and year out is to attend different conventions to meet some of your favorite horror stars. However, none of us have been able to do that because of obvious reasons. But I do have a little suggestion for you. SignatureHorror.com. Now, some may ask, what is that? Well, they obtain autographs for the fans from some of their favorite stars, from some of their favorite franchises, whether it be the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, and many more. They have different options, such as, besides getting their autographs, you can do live Zoom calls with your favorite stars. You can do personalized videos for people, greetings of some sort. They just have many options. So if you're looking to spend some money that you may have spent at conventions, check them out and see the options they have. SignatureHorror.com. That's right, SignatureHorror.com. Hey folks, it's your least favorite host in the podcast world, Croc, Jonathan Steele.
And I'm Elena, your favorite host from the Emerald Isle.
And boy, do we have a good one for you today.
Howdy folks, Clint Malarchuk here, former NHL goaltender, and you are listening to Crazy Train Radio.
So, the gentleman on the line now is joining us a couple days after joining us for the virtual event we did, which was awesome. But let's go a little more in depth about him. 338 games in the NHL, but good or bad, depending on how you look at it, is remembered for one particular gruesome injury, and probably considered the most gruesome injury in sport history. However, also, he hid mental illnesses during most of his life that eventually spiraled out of control and eventually led him to where he's at now. And I've been saying this since we spoke the other day as part of our event. It's awesome to see such a positive mindset where you're at now. And it seems like you're at true peace with yourself. This guest, Clint Malarchuk. How you doing, sir?
I'm very good, very good. That's a great intro, I guess. But, I don't want to mislead people either. I still struggle with mental illness, but not to the degree where it was so dominant in my life and out of control. I have to work at a few things to keep my balance, and medication, meditation, working out, being of service is the main thing that I really like to. For me, anyways, it's just so gratifying to be of service, to public speak, to have people come up to you after, or people that have read my book. Email me and say that it helped them and that they are going to go get help. And they, in other words, I feel like I'm trying to break down the stigma that goes with mental illness. And, there's a lot of guilt and shame for people, and there shouldn't be. It's definitely a sickness and not a weakness in people. And the injury you're talking about at the top there was, in 1989, I severed my jugular vein playing for the Buffalo Sabres, and almost died. And what people need to understand, I think, is that I really thought I was dying. I was preparing for death. I got off the ice. I skated off the ice on my own power, and people were impressed with that. But the reason I did that is I didn't want my mother to see me on TV and watch her son die on the ice. And she was watching the game in Canada on TV. And I asked the trainer, I asked one, hold my hand, I'm going to die. And another trainer, I said, well, you call my mom and tell her I love her. So, basically, I guess what I'm trying to emphasize is I truly thought I was dying. So with that is trauma. And I've been predisposed to depression, anxiety, obsessive compulsive disorder from a kid. And so with trauma, if you're predisposed to some of these things, they will explode. And that's what happened to me. I got through that year. I came back real quick, 10 days, I think. And as soon as the stitches came out of my neck, I was back. And people really thought that was, courageous and gritty. And I became somewhat of a cult hero, even to this day in upstate New York. And but whether it was the right thing to do or not, I don't know. Counseling wasn't offered, and I didn't think of it either for the trauma. The extent of my counseling was myself and Jim Pizzatelli, our medical trainer, went out on the ice in our street clothes and stood in front of the net. And we kind of looked around and said, this is where it happened. You good? I'm good. We kind of give a bump and, our fists, and away we went. And that was the extent of my my counseling. It was the next season where things really started to fall apart for me. I started to have nightmares, flashbacks. My OCD became really difficult to handle. I was having trouble just leaving the house to go to practice. And panic attacks, depression, anxiety, you name it. And it just exploded. And I just tried to push through. I didn't tell anybody. And then we had a Super Bowl party at our captain's house, Pat LaFontaine. And I hadn't slept in 10 nights. So I was very, very sleep deprived. I didn't stay long at the party, maybe 30 minutes. And I went back to my house, and I was playing with a fractured thumb. So I had some painkillers, and I wasn't really taking them much, but I was going to take them to try and sleep because it said, do not drink with alcohol, will make you drowsy. So I took a few extra, thinking, okay, I'm going to sleep tonight because I really need it. And I drained a bottle of scotch. And that caused my heart to stop. And so in the hospital the next day, the psychiatrist comes in and wants to know what's going on. Was it a suicide attempt? Or because it kind of looked like it. And I said, no, sir. I haven't been sleeping at all for 10 nights. I have nightmares, flashbacks, and that's why I don't sleep. I don't want to see that skate come up anymore and relive that trauma. So, basically, for the first time in my life, I was diagnosed with mental illness, panic attacks, OCD, depression, and anxiety. But it was a 2.5 years of different medications and different doctors and different specialists, and nothing was really working. And my play started to really decline too. And that's when I went to the minors, and devastated to get sent to the minors, feeling my NHL days were done. And my first game in the minors, I let in 4 goals on 6 shots in the first period. And even for me, that's not very good. I got pulled, and I remember going in after the game to our coach, and I said, I got to retire. I can't function. And he was like, well, it was just a bad game. Don't worry about it. I go, no, you don't understand what's going on in my head. And he said, I thought you had that all kind of under control. And I said, no, I've been seeing doctors and specialists and medication. Nothing's worked. So he got me in to see this world famous doctor in Southern California. And that's what changed for me. He got me on a great medication. He got me, basically resurrected my career. And then I went into coaching. So my life really turned around for a long, long time.
But, there's a couple of things there that I wanted to hit on, but you started there with the introduction and wanting to clear the air a little bit. Overall, though, obviously, like you said, you got to work at it and everything. But do you feel like you're in your best place now because of everything you do that works for you, whether it be meditation, the working out, the medication, combination of everything?
I'm in a good place now for sure. But I just I don't want to downplay the fact that I have to work at it. I have a structure to keep my balance, to keep my mental balance. And, like I said, medication is very important to me. Some people don't like medication, but I don't like the alternative. And if you're a diabetic, you are going to go on medication. You have to. So there's no difference.
Got a heart issue or
right. And there's no difference, just a different organ. Mine's the brain, and it doesn't produce enough serotonin. And that's the feel-good chemical that the brain produces. And I don't produce enough of that. So I take an enhancer that helps me produce more serotonin. But I think it's important to understand that, I do have to do things. And, like I said, I work out every day. I have a physical job, where I'm a horse dentist and a horse chiropractor. So being around the animals is therapeutic for me. But I think, working out, meditation, I do that when I get feeling squirrely or anxious. I take a time out and kind of ground myself. And then, like I said, being a service, being a public speaker and doing podcasts and interviews and getting feedback from my book, all those things are part of my program.
And I think about this, and this really clicked for me because I have my share of depression and such as well. I happened to be at a beef and beer or a fundraiser, whatever the case was. And at the event, I was having a couple drinks with a family friend who happens to be a regular family doctor, who also was my primary care. And the thing that, as far as we were talking about my mental health and just everything, right? Mm-hmm. Hey, how's this going? How's that going? But he was, not only because of his profession, but as a friend, asking these questions. And he goes, think about it this way. I said, what do you got? He goes, because, got to always be open to suggestions and stuff, especially with this type of thing. He goes, think about it. If it was something physical, whether you broke your leg or you had a heart or you had something like this, we can see 100% in how to treat it. We can figure it out, something physical. Mm-hmm. Mental health, we can't fully see it. So it's so hard not the same treatment will work for everybody, is what he was getting at. And also what you said, medication is not the end all be all, but it's a big help to folks.
Yeah.
So, but just the way he explained it was it was a big aha moment for me. Yes. I'll never forget it.
Yeah. And that's why it's a hard disease to treat too, because like you said, some medications don't work for some people and they work for other people. So it's a process of trying to find the right medication. And usually with antidepressants or serotonin enhancers, it takes about 6 weeks to find out if it works or not. And so if it doesn't work, that's 6 weeks. Now you got to go on another one for another 6 weeks. And it's a trial and error. But I'll tell you one thing, once you nail it, it's worth the, I remember when I first got healthy, after 6 weeks of a certain drug. And I said to the doctor when I went in for my weekly check-in with him at week 6, I said, is this what it feels like to be normal? And I was very serious. I was overwhelmed. And he goes, you're doing good, huh? And I said, absolutely. I've never felt this good in my life. So.
Well, got one question as far as the injury goes, then we can move on. Steve Turtle, I haven't seen it brought up, but did you guys ever have a conversation? Because it was such a freak thing. Well, and I know it wasn't of purpose.
Right. It was an accident. And I'd read somewhere or heard somewhere that he was struggling with nightmares as well. And I know a lot of people that were at the game. There were people passing out with all the blood on the ice and 2 heart attacks that I heard about. It was very real for a lot of people. But I heard he was struggling. I reached out to him and I just left a voicemail on his phone, just saying, hey, I know it was an accident. I hope you're, processing how it happened and, that you do well, get over it like I'm trying to. So, yeah, I did reach out to him for sure.
Yeah, I'm no Dr. Phil or anything like that, but I think it would be, I just play one on here, but right. It just seems like that if you two actually got together and had a conversation, it might be good for both sides.
Right. Yeah, but that's been 30 years ago. I think we're over it, but yeah, okay. I think it would have been therapeutic for both of us.
Well, it's funny because, and I should bring this up here as well. Unfortunately, Liam's not with us today, and you notice as well as I do, he is like a walking Google machine when it comes to.
My God.
He's something else, isn't he?
Yeah.
Wonderful guy. It's great. I'm glad to call him a friend. But
yeah, very good guy.
As far as, and we talked about this the other day, or I should say he brought this up, especially from your time in Quebec, that rivalry with Montreal. What made that so special?
Well, I think that they're very passionate, number one, in Quebec, the province of Quebec. They're passionate hockey fans. And, the cities are only a couple hours apart. It was just geographics, I'm sure, had something to do with it, being that close together. But they're just a rabid, passionate hockey base there. And if you're a Nordique fan, you were nothing but a Nordique fan. And the same with the Montreal Canadiens. If you're a Canadiens fan, you were nothing but. And so it was an intense rivalry. Every game, not just the playoffs, but every game, even if we played them in preseason game, it would be packed and it would be vocal.
Well, obviously, during that particular rivalry, I should mention, and I know you joked about it the other day, the Good Friday Massacre. Now, to let folks know, there was over 252 penalty minutes assessed, and 10 players, including yourself, were injected. What for those who might not be familiar with this particular game or incident, what actually was that? All because of the passion, or was there something previous games leading up to this?
I think it was just the passion and the intensity of that rivalry. Also, it was a playoff game, and I didn't know. Liam brought it up the other day. I was the backup goalie. I didn't play a minute of that game yet. I got 15 minutes in penalties and got thrown out of the game. How do you do that?
Now, was that the same game you were talking about as far as getting stitches and a coach didn't want to play you, or?
No. That was my first NHL game that I played. Probably the year before, or maybe it was it wasn't a playoff game. It was a regular season game. Yeah, that was in warm-ups. I had to get stitches. I got hit in the head with a slap shot and had to get some stitches. And the coach came in and said, you play. He's French Canadian. Play tonight. And I'm like, no, I'm playing. I'm not missing a chance. It was my first crack at the NHL.
Oh, yeah. Well, for most people who might not be familiar with your style of play, and I would agree with this, and I'm sure Liam would too, and he probably will send us a message afterwards when he hears this. You definitely, as far as the physical aspects of the game, played old school. So what would you say your strengths and weaknesses were as far as playing?
Well, I think my reflexes, I was quick, and I was good on my feet. Like I was a good skater, even without the pads on, playing as a kid, playing forward or something. I lived on the ice, so I was a pretty good skater. I think probably those two things were my best assets. I studied the game hard too. I studied shooters. I studied teams and their how they attacked offensively. So I was a a student of the game as well.
And obviously, you saw a lot of greats throughout your time, and even before and since. But as far as your time on the ice, was there a particular player or players you thought were the best?
Well, I played in the era of Gretzky and Lemieux, so those two guys, stand out. I remember Liam saying Bobby Orr, but as a kid when Bobby Orr played, I didn't play against them. So the guys that stood out to me again, the Islanders in the early '80s when I was just starting, the New York Islanders were a powerhouse and Stanley Cup champions, and they were unbelievable. Mike Bossy could really shoot the puck. And they had Trottier and Gillies and Billy Smith in goal. I mean, they were quite the force back then. And then, of course, Edmonton started to gain momentum and overtook that, I guess, dynasty title.
Exactly. And the one story before we get post NHL, I thought was funny, and I just read this today. And we know everything on the internet is true, folks. We know that to be true. But there was a story I was reading where an old teammate of yours, Dale Hunter, was kind of ribbing you and kind of encouraging you during it when you got an opportunity to meet President Reagan. What was that story?
Oh, well, we were with the Washington Capitals, and it was a preseason game it was an Olympic year, so we played the U.S. Olympic team. And then we were all invited. Both teams were invited to the White House, and we were in the Rose Garden. And President Reagan was, addressing. He was speaking, and I was at the very, very end of the lineup of the receiving. When he was done speaking, he was going along, shaking everybody's hand, and Dale was ribbing me. There was a Secret Service guy beside me, so I started giving it to the Secret Service guy. But then all of a sudden, Ronald Reagan's in front of me, and I said, "Oh, hey, Ron, how are you?" And kind of startled, and I shake his hand, and we started talking about the cowboy movie. He, being a cowboy myself, he did a lot of westerns when he was an actor. So, we started talking about that, and there was an old actress, Barbara Steinweck was her name. I asked him if he ever took a run at that, and he laughed and kind of giggled and said no, but she was pretty, and I would have liked to. And of course, we were just joking around, and he was quite the gentleman. And I think people, I know our PR representative was going, "Oh no, Malarchuk's talking to the president. This can't be good."
How much ribbing did you get post that? Because like you said, the PR guy's going, "Oh no," and where the teammates go.
Yeah, they were joking. Everybody thought it was pretty funny. I mean, there was, I didn't catch any flack, that's for sure. But, everybody was kind of, just laughing about it, because I was kind of a goofy guy. I'd do stupid things. And so they just kind of expected it from
Clint being Clint,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But, obviously you mentioned earlier about going into the minors. Then I know you retired with Las Vegas, but during that same time period when I was reading this morning, I thought it was entertaining. And I'm guessing you were thinking post-career with this, that you got some horses as part of your agreement.
Yeah. Well, the reason I did that, I was going through a divorce, and I was being interviewed after that, So I think I got 2 horses as a signing bonus. And then for every year I play, I get another horse or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but I was going through a divorce, and I was being interviewed one time, and the reporter asked me, said, that's got to be the first contract in pro sports negotiated with livestock. And he goes, why is that? And I said, well, I'm going through a divorce, and if she wants half a horse, I know which end she'll get.
Oh boy. Well, because of that, did you think you would get into what you're doing now with the horses and everything else like that?
No, I've always been a horseman. I've always been a cowboy, grew up that way. And, I was coaching, and I was kind of in between coaching jobs. In fact, they had hired a new GM, and the GM said to me, I don't know if we're going to retain you as a coach. We're going to kind of evaluate things. And a couple months went by, and I thought, well, hang on. I mean, you can't keep me hanging like that. So I checked out, what else can I do? Hockey's all I really know. And I went, wait, horses. What can you do with horses? And I didn't want to be a shoer because my back is not great. And so I enrolled in equine dentistry and got certified. And that was 38 years old when that went down. And I was a terrible student as a kid, probably because of my anxiety and depression issues. So for me to go to school at 38 and study and go through all the classes, and that was a big accomplishment for me. And, I started a equine practice of dentistry and chiropractic. And then I wasn't out of the game long. I mean, I did get another coaching job, and ironically, it was, as a goalie coach in the NHL. And I coached with, I think, 4 different NHL teams for 20 years or so. But I always kept my practice going. I would do it in the off season. So I've been fortunate. And like I mentioned too, working with the animals is very therapeutic for me. You're helping an animal. I mean, we all know what it's like to have a toothache. It hurts. And horses get bad teeth sometimes. And I did an extraction yesterday, and we can only sedate the horse for a certain amount of time because too much drugs could probably kill the horse. So we were at the clinic, and we didn't get the tooth out. We got it real loose. So when I'm done with this podcast, I'm heading down to the clinic, and we're going to have another crack at it. But it's therapeutic, I guess, working with animals and helping them.
Yeah, that's definitely awesome. And you showed us I only got a couple more for you, but you showed us a view the other day, which we thought was just awesome. Is that where you actually do all the work on your property, or where was that view you showed us?
That was on my property. It's I got a little ranch here with horses and goats and dogs and cats, and it's more of a hobby ranch. But I do some work out of my barn. People haul horses into me, but for the most part, I'm mobile or go down to the veterinarian clinic and like I'll do today.
Yeah, it's good. And the reason I bring that up is because when we shared the viewing besides the live feed, one of the compliments we got, or the fan feedback anyway, was, holy cow, look at his view. That's just unbelievably awesome.
I am blessed to live where I do. And it kind of happened by accident where I'm in the Reno, Lake Tahoe area, northern Nevada. And, it's a beautiful valley, and the Lake Tahoe and the Sierra Mountains are right there. And I kind of ended up here. I was living in Idaho. I was coaching up there, but I was still doing the dentistry, and I was coming down here because I had some clients down here. And the veterinarians down here said, why don't you just move here? And I kind of thought about it and went, yeah, you know what? I love the valley. It's beautiful. So that's how I ended up here. It was basically kind of being recruited by veterinarians.
Were you, did you end up finding a property pretty quickly, or how was that process for you?
Yeah, it was pretty quick. I mean, the valley was, the market was high at that time. And that's the unfortunate thing. I bought a fixer upper and put a lot of time and effort in, and digging fence post holes and putting up fence and clearing sagebrush, and basically gutted the house and redid it. And it's a very humble house. It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. It's 1,200 square feet, so it's not like people think a former hockey player would be living in a big fancy house. It's nothing like that, but I do have property, and I do, my property backs to what they call BLM land, Bureau of Land Management. So it's government land, and it'll never be built on. It's there forever. So my property borders that. So I'll never have a house built behind me or anything like that to spoil a view.
Well, I do want to mention this because obviously we've talked about your public speaking and stuff. If I'm going to put a link to it with the public viewing of this, or listening to this, I should say, is if you want to hear some of Clint's stuff as far as public speaking and all is concerned, check out his TED Talk from Carson City. It's very informative, talking about his story, but also he mentioned it here. Check out his book. And I was on there this morning. You could see it on Amazon, both Canadian version, which he brought this up the other day. The Crazy Game is the title, where here in the US, where we're both at currently, it's A Matter of Inches. I know you said you didn't like the name Matter of Inches, but how has the reception of the book been?
Within a couple months, it was a bestseller in Canada. So, and that's the other thing I touched on a little bit about the speaking in the book is, and being of service is I get so much feedback from people, saying, oh my God, thank you. I was doing this all by myself, living in this dark place. And after reading your book, I'm going to go see a doctor and get help. And so that for me, it made me realize, and I was getting tons of emails when the book first came out, and I went, wow, there's a lot of Clint Malarchucks out there, meaning a lot of people that are struggling with depression and anxiety and other mental health issues. And, I knew people struggled, but I didn't realize to the depth that I was, because later on, I'm a suicide survivor. And the other one was an accidental overdose.
Okay, that's why I want to make clear.
Yeah. So being a suicide survivor and getting the feedback and helping people, that gratification, it's really the thing that motivates me the most. It is when you public speak and people come up after and they're in tears or hugging and thanking you, and you've helped them. And I've had people tell me that they've been suicidal and that they read my book and got out of that hole, or they heard me speak and went and got help. So I know for a fact that I've saved lives, and that's pretty powerful stuff for me right there.
And that's a good way to end this. And I'll put it this way, folks, and I said this in the beginning, but it is awesome to see, knowing Clint's story, how impressive it is that he is in a good spot now. Mind you, as he mentioned, and he is 100% right, you do have to work at it. But like I said, going to include the TED Talk link on here. Check out the book if you get an opportunity. Clint, thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Tension grows, the whistle blows, and the puck goes down the ice. The goalie jumps and the players bump and the fans all go insane. Someone roars, Bobby scores at the good old hockey game. Oh, the good old hockey game.
With over 30 years of experience and a superb reputation for being a detail-oriented company, Lacey Cleaning has some of the highest work standards in the cleaning business.
That's the fact, Jack!
Whether it's carpet cleaning, tile, grout cleaning, new construction cleanup, rental turnovers, vent and duct cleaning, odor elimination, office and or business cleaning, power washing, residential cleaning, you name it, they do it. Woo! Check them out. To contact them today, laceycleaning@gmail.com or call them at 609-709-8536.
That's what I'm talking about.
Let me show you how to move your body, move your body, move body, 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 body.
Hey guys, it's Candace Michelle, and I'm so excited to be a part of Crazy Train Radio. I hope you guys tune in to this live interview.